porch step was cool and damp, older than any memory little mouse could hold. A single crack ran through the wood, and from that crack, a pale stem had pushed into the world. Little mouse noticed it at dusk, when the long shadows made everything look different. The stem was thin and white, like a small bone or a forgotten tooth. It had no leaves. It had no color, but it was alive. Little mouse could see the tiny droplets of water clinging to its surface, each one holding the last light of the sky. If you have ever knelt down to look at something small, something hidden, you know that feeling. The world gets bigger around you. The sounds get softer. You become a part of the quiet that was already there. Little mouse had never seen a mushroom before. Not one like this, all alone under the porch, with nobody to witness it but the spiders and the beetles and the damp air. And now, little mouse. The mushroom grew in secret. That was its nature. It did not need the sun to know when morning came. It felt the earth tremble, and it knew. In old farming songs, the kind that farmers used to hum while walking home in the dark, they spoke of mushrooms as the children of night. They said mushrooms come when nobody is watching, and they leave before morning. But little mouse had found this one at the wrong time. The wrong time was exactly the right time. The porch creaked when little mouse moved. The sound was soft, like a wooden voice saying, "Be careful." And so little mouse was careful. One paw, then the other. The mushroom did not move. It only stood there, pale and patient, waiting for something little mouse did not understand. If you have ever felt that something was hidden in a place you passed every day, you know what little mouse felt. The porch had always been there. The crack had always been there. But the mushroom had been waiting underneath the floorboards for the rain to come and call it up. And now it was here, breathing the same air as little mouse. There were two small beings, both hidden from the sky above. If you have ever found a secret like that, a quiet living thing waiting just for you, you know how little mouse's heart must have felt. That is the kind of moment worth holding close. If you want to discover more hidden wonders with little mouse, you can stay on this farm by subscribing. And before you go on, tell us in the comments, what was one small secret you once found in a place you walked past every day? The mushroom was not bigger than a single piece of hay, but to little mouse it looked enormous. A whole world in a single stem, a whole story in a single shape. The ground under the porch smelled of wet dirt and old leaves. Little mouse pressed a nose into the soil, feeling the cool darkness that the mushroom knew so well. Mushrooms love dark, damp places. That is where they find what they need. The soil under the porch never saw the sun, never felt the wind. It was a quiet kingdom of stillness and slow growth. And in that kingdom, one mushroom had decided to rise. Little mouse did not know that mushrooms are not plants. They belong to a different kingdom, older than anyone can remember. They break down wood that has fallen, turn old things into new soil, and grow in ways that plants cannot. But little mouse only knew that the mushroom was beautiful in its pale, silent way, and that it was alive, The night air carried the scent of hay from the barn, the scent of moss from the well, the scent of damp wool from the sheep's shed, and under it all, the scent of the mushroom itself, which smelled of earth and rain and something else, something that reminded Little Mouse of the inside of a cave. The mushroom was not ready to be picked. Its cap was still closed, like a small fist holding a secret. When the cap opened, when it flattened and spread, the mushroom would release its spores into the air. Tiny specks, invisible to the eye, would float into the world and find dark places to grow. That is how mushrooms move, not on legs, on air. If you have ever wished you could float like a spore, carried by the night wind to a new dark place to grow, you are part of this quiet kingdom too. Subscribing means you will be here when Little Mouse finds the next tiny traveler. And we would love to hear from you. What do you imagine a spore sees as it drifts through the dark? Leave your thoughts below. Little Mouse sat very still, watching the mushroom do nothing. But doing nothing in the way of mushrooms is everything. Every moment of stillness was a moment of growing, deeper into the wood, higher into the air. A beetle crawled across the porch step, antennae waving. It did not stop. It knew the mushroom was there. It had always known. The stars began to appear above the barn. One, then another, then so many that Little Mouse could not count them all. Below the stars, the mushroom glowed, just a little, with a light that came from no sun. Some farmers say that mushrooms store the light of the moon, releasing it slowly when they are ready to be seen. Little Mouse had heard the old sheep tell this story, whispering it to the lambs on quiet nights. And now, watching the mushroom, Little Mouse believed the story was true. The mushroom was growing. Little Mouse could not see it grow, but there, in the way the cap leaned slightly to one side, there, in the tiny beads of water that had not been there before, the mushroom was becoming more of itself. If you have ever planted a seed and checked it every morning, you know the feeling of waiting for something that does not happen quickly. You look. Nothing. You look again. Nothing. Then one day, you forget to look. And that is when the green appears. Little Mouse did not look away, not once. The wind moved through the grass, making a sound like the ocean inside a shell. The porch step became cold under Little Mouse, but the warmth from the earth, the deep warmth that comes from below, was still there. A secret warmth for roots and mushrooms and sleeping animals. The mushroom loved this warmth. It drank it through its stem, turning it into more mushroom. Soon the cap would open. Soon the spores would fly. But for now, it was still tucked into itself, like a child before the first word of morning. Little Mouse was the only one who knew about the mushroom, the only one in the whole farm. The sheep had not seen it. The ducks had not seen it. The horses had not seen it. But Little Mouse had. And that made the mushroom special in a way that no other mushroom could ever be. A cricket began to sing from somewhere near the woodpile. Then another, from the other side of the garden. Then another. The whole farm filled with cricket song. a blanket of sound that wrapped around the porch, and the mushroom and little mouse. The mushroom did not care about the crickets. It had its own rhythm, slower than cricket wings, slower than breathing. A mushroom rhythm is measured in days and nights, in rainfall and drought. It does not rush for anyone. Little Mouse yawned. The night was getting older. The stars were getting brighter. The mushroom was still there, not bigger, but more present, like a guest who had decided to stay. Back in the kitchen, the stove had been quiet for hours. The carrots were sleeping in their basket. The pumpkins were dreaming of winter. And under the porch, something new was happening. The mushroom was opening. It happened so slowly that Little Mouse almost missed it. A tiny split in the cap. A sliver of pink like the inside of a shell. The mushroom was not white all the way through. Underneath its pale skin it had colour. A living pink, the colour of dawn before the sun rises. Little Mouse leaned closer. The mushroom smelled different now. Stronger, like the earth after a summer rain. The cap was slowly lifting, revealing the gills underneath. Tiny, delicate, perfectly arranged. Like the pages of a book that had never been opened. The spores would fall soon. They would drift into the world and find new, dark places. They would grow into new mushrooms, and those mushrooms would grow more spores, and the cycle would never end. But for now, only Little Mouse was here to see, to witness the first opening, to know that under the porch, in the quiet dark, something impossible was becoming real. The stars watched from above. The crickets sang, and Little Mouse stayed, a small creature keeping company with a smaller one, awake in the beautiful sleeping dark. The mushroom opened fully, its cap now a wide, pale umbrella held above the damp earth. The gills inside were the colour of a rabbit's ear, soft and pink and full of life. Little Mouse watched as the first spores began to fall, invisible specks no bigger than the dust from a moth's wing. They drifted into the night air, carried by a breath of wind that came from nowhere. One spore landed on Little Mouse's nose, tiny, silent, the beginning of something. The mushroom had done what it came to do. It had risen from the dark, opened its secret, and sent its children into the world. Now it would slowly fade, returning to the earth it came from, becoming soil for the next mushroom that would grow in its place. You have watched this secret open too, and there is a way to hold it close, so you do not miss the next moment when something invisible becomes real. Subscribe, and you will stay connected to the farm's quiet rhythm. And tonight, while the image is still warm, tell us in the comments one beautiful thing you have seen that no one else noticed. We will keep it safe here. Little Mouse understood this without thinking, the way a child understands that night follows day, that rain follows sun, that winter follows autumn. Some things do not need to be explained, they are felt. The cricket song began to slow. One cricket stopped, then another. Soon, only the wind was singing, moving through the grass like a hand through fur. Little Mouse was tired now, the kind of tired that comes from watching something real, the kind of tired that feels good, like a full belly, or a warm nest. The mushroom was still there, but smaller somehow. It had given its gift. It had been seen. Now it could rest. Little Mouse backed away from the porch, one paw at a time. The night air was cool on the whiskers, cool on the ears, cool on the tail that swept the ground. Back near the house, light glowed from the kitchen window. A single lamp, left on for no one. The light touched the grass and made it look like green water. Little Mouse did not go inside. Not yet. There was something about the mushroom that deserved to be remembered. The shape of it, the pale stem against the dark wood, the way it had opened like a small hand releasing a secret. Some things cannot be kept. They can only be witnessed. And to witness is enough. The barn loomed ahead, dark and warm, smelling of hay and sheep and the deep breath of sleeping animals. The lamp flickered in the window. The stars continued their slow march across the sky. Little Mouse crawled into a nest of hay, soft and dry, hidden from the wind. Above, pigeons shifted on their beams, making small sounds of comfort. The last image of the mushroom faded slowly, like a dream that refuses to leave. The pale cap, the pink gills, the tiny spores floating into the dark. Little Mouse closed eyes. The day was done. The mushroom had been born and witnessed, and that was enough for both of them. The hay smelled of summer. The barn smelled of life. And somewhere, under the porch, the place where the mushroom had been was already filling with new soil, waiting for the next secret to rise. Sleep came like a tide, gentle and slow, pulling Little Mouse into the deep, warm dark. And in the morning, when the sun touched the barn and the porch, and the grass still wet with dew, the mushroom would be gone, returned to earth, scattered across the world. But Little Mouse would remember. And that, in the end, is what a story needs. One being who remembers. One small heart that holds the image of something beautiful, something fragile, something that grew in the dark and was seen by light